Hi guys, today I'm bringing you the phenomenal Fabian Bern from Up Lab. We're going to talk about Douyin, how to succeed with short video and live streaming, and of course, China's new normal post-Covid-19. Fabian, welcome on the show.
Yes, thanks a lot.
Fabian, you've been working with Douyin and short videos and live streaming since, if I'm not mistaken, 2013. So it's been many years by now. Tell me, what do you love about this Douyin platform right now in 2020?
So I've been involved actually at Douyin from the beginning, from the early days. And it's partly because my girlfriend has been one of the first creators there on the platform. So really before it even was called Douyin and another name, and just the first 8 started it. So really involved from the beginning, and have been really seeing it growing. And what I really like about short video, and definitely in China, is it's all to the point, not too much stuff around it, what you see sometimes on a YouTube where there's a lot of B-roll and all these kind of things. Is really to the point, and really also how the content has developed from very TikTok-ish content, to say it like that, right now, to really like micro vlogging, really specialists in different categories and industries like beauty or fashion or whatsoever. So it's really interesting how the storytelling is happening in 15 seconds or maximum like a 60 seconds, that storytelling, and that people are able to sell products or services through a 15-second video. That's really what's impressing me, and definitely the approach how Douyin did it since the early days, and they have been growing, has been really, fascinating me, that I wanted to do something with it and really kind of join that growth as a part of that, and helping the companies, creators and artists on the platform.
I love it. And we are definitely going to get into that topic, how to be successful on Douyin in 15 to 60 seconds. But before that, I would like to really know, right now, obviously, we had a very exciting and interesting Q1 for everybody around the world, and especially in China here. What's new, what's interesting, what's different on Douyin as a platform in the first 4 or 5 months of this year?
I think for Douyin, that hasn't changed much in the way. I think the biggest thing that has changed, and I think that's where Douyin, but also TikTok is working on a lot right now, is the retention. So not really getting new users, but letting users keep coming back because they have interesting stuff on the platform. So I think that this Q1 has been really helping Douyin. And I think they have been putting more efforts on live streaming. So they've been doing different live stream shows for users, but also with big names within the industry, and focusing on that social commerce part of live streaming. So I think they've been testing there a lot. But on the other note, that hasn't been changing a lot, at least for me from a user perspective, or for the creators we work with, or for the brands. It's just like more. And of course, it was a bit more competitive. So it has been kind of for a couple months how it is usually during the Chinese New Year, which is like if you post content, it's really tough to get through that and get in that in that kind of algorithm that people see you. So it's very competitive, I would say, because so many people start posting content. I think that's the biggest what I've seen for Douyin, but just more activity. But in terms of content change or new features, that hasn't been changing a lot.
I've also seen quite a bit of older people getting on Douyin, which was quite interesting to tell the list. It was like February and probably beginning of March, when all these older people, which I don't mind, joined the platform, like 50-plus-year-olds. And then we even have the older bloggers that are right now communicating with like lower tier city audiences. Have you also noticed anything like that? Different demographics?
Yes, the different demographics, that has been actually growing already for some time. So even before this, but of course now everybody was sitting at home and kind of have to find a way to entertain themselves. And I think Douyin is one of the best platforms to find that entertainment, where you can just swipe between content in 10 seconds. You have something new and exciting. Definitely for the lower tier cities, like the 3rd, 4th tier cities, Douyin has been growing pretty quick. And you see even creators really focusing on just 3rd or 4th tier cities with their type of content. So definitely that has been growing as well, and a very interesting industry and category for specific types of products, for example, if you want to do social commerce. So that has been growing, and I think more family related content I've been seeing, at least families doing things together, challenges or whatsoever at home to entertain themselves. So that has been changing as well.
No, that's perfect. And right now you've said that indeed Douyin for a while actually had quite a funny reputation because there were a lot of numbers, but a lot of people sort of looked down on this platform because they felt, oh, all these people, first of all, they don't have money, they're too young, or they are from lower tier cities, so that's not my target. Do you feel that right now in 2020, the attitude toward the platform and also the way it operates, the people that it targets, has somehow stabilized? And who are these people on Douyin right now in 2020 in China?
Yeah, so it's kind of a major app, I think, just within its own category, and it has been doing very well. Partly, I think, because ByteDance is also kind of a major company already, so they're really going to own that industry within short video in China. The way how Douyin started out is actually that they kind of acquired creators from different platforms like MadePie, but even from Musical.ly, and these were actually all from first-tier cities. So they got a lot of people even from first-tier cities because they kind of acquire these perfect Chinese where everybody's looking up to, and that's part of their strategy, how they got a lot of users. And then slowly that kind of started changing, and a lot of from lower tier cities started joining it as well. And now everybody's using it, but what you actually see, because the algorithm is so smart to recognize like, hey, people want to see this at this time. So a lot of people who consume 4-tier city content, if I can say it like this, the first-tier city people don't watch necessarily that content, but Douyin is really smart to just put that content to the first-tier city people. So that's kind of what's really smart, and it fills like kind of different boxes within one app. So it's really consuming just what you want to consume instead of how you see very much on Western platforms where it's just like
just a bulk.
Everything is put, just everything is put together. Douyin can really kind of separate that based on what you want to see. So that's for me very interesting, and that also makes for us as a company interesting because you can run more hyper-targeted campaigns, reaching that specific audience.
And this is what I think the whole ByteDance as a company, as an ecosystem, has done very, very well, because they claim that they're using AI, and we can call it machine learning, whichever way people prefer. But indeed, it is very smart. It's not tagging their content with just simple tags. It truly learns about individual behavior, and it puts 2 and 2 together, which creates a very, as you said, catered and customized experience on the platform. Now, as you spoke about algorithm, this is the time to tell us how to succeed on Douyin within 15 to 60 seconds. In other words, how can a person become a big blogger on Douyin, and how can a company to actually use this phenomenal feature to tell a story within just 15 to 60 minutes? Seconds.
Yes. Yeah, so this is actually an interesting topic, and I get asked pretty often, and it's obvious. What's really tough is the algorithm is so smart that it's really tough to say like, okay, we're going to now make a viral video. What you see on Douyin has a very specific type of content, which is very down to earth and actually very relatable content. So this content usually which can happen just on the street randomly, or within a company where people think of like, hey, this would happen. So for example, Alipay is doing this very well, where actually just their social media manager is sneaking into Jack Ma's office. Like these kind of stuff, this is what people want to see, and that's why the account has been very successful. What's interesting is that very much is about user-generated content. So they're actually, and that's a big difference, I would say, with the West, where they try to focus on this high production content for their brands. You see brands actually just doing it with a phone. Of course, there's like strategy behind it, but it's not like the whole high production, how usually companies would do that. So it's very much around that user-generated content, and usually that it's an individual creating that content for the account, really the successful brand accounts. And then you, of course, have these different categories. And that's really important on Douyin, to be in that category. If you're into beauty, just create beauty content and not just random dances or whatsoever. Just do that beauty content because that's what people want to see, and that's how the algorithm recognizes that. And at the same time, don't make your content too promotional. It's really about the story and how you structure that story in 15 seconds. So I think the best way for brands is actually just talk with the creator and ask, how do you create content? Or can you help us to create content? That works really the best for brands, I would say. But yeah, it's still experimenting a lot and trying what works and what doesn't work. The algorithm also recognizes branded content. So you have like soft advertisements and hard advertisements, where the algorithm recognizes like, do you hold a lipstick like this in the screen, or don't you do that? So you really have to make your product a part of the story And then it would really work instead of really trying to hard sell the product. That's again where live streams are for, but not really the short video content which you have on Douyin. So it's really a lot of experimenting, that user generated content. I would say these are really the most important things, and really pushing out a lot of content. So really start pushing and then learn what works and what doesn't.
And this is absolutely beautiful. And what you said earlier, you said that, all these perfect corporate videos don't work, with hundreds of creators and lined up models. I remember 15 years when I moved to mainland China, I remember the biggest wisdom that was showered upon me in the first week was, perfect is not fast enough. When I heard it for the first time, I was like, how is it possible? But we were talking about advertising, and the person told me, because I commented on an ugly banner, I said, oh my God, who approved this to go to print? And they told me, well, perfect is just not fast enough. So now in 2020, like never before, if you want something perfect, for China in particular, is not fast enough. So you need to be relatable, you need to be human, you need to tell stories. And as you mentioned, you truly need to continuously learn the algorithm, because one thing for sure, that this algorithm is becoming smarter, and it also continues changing, correct?
Correct. Yes, that's correct. I think that's really good, that how it sums up, like perfect is not fast enough. And I think that's what a lot of companies, even on TikTok right now, are struggling with. They try to create that perfect, but it just doesn't work like that. You just push out relevant content. And that's why I think that short video is also so popular, because it's relevant content. It's not too much around it. People don't want to sit for an hour to watch something, or like a long form YouTube video or something like that. Definitely not in China. They want to have these short bits with all the information. If you see a Douyin who's creating actually a course how to be a good creator, you can just consume that for free on their platform. These videos are just like in a minute or something like that, and they just say, okay, this is what you need to know, not like the whole story around it, how I do now in this cup. But yeah, that's really how it works. So yeah, I think it's very good what you said.
That's perfect. Has the behavior of users right now changed on Douyin? Like, how often do we actually watch content? What kind of content we're interested in? So basically, in the past, let's say half a year or so, what are the biggest changes in the consumption? How can we tell better stories?
I think what we see now is that way more people are going to create in these type of categories. It was first still a little bit random. It has been developing. That takes a long time, but really now people started to realize, and definitely because more businesses joined the platform, because Douyin offered that for free to companies which were affected in China to open a free account, and they provided them the free training and helped them set up their social commerce and whatsoever. They really trained, like, you have to create in that particular category and just do where you're good at, which is relatable, but just within your kind of industry, and don't try to go all different ways, because that's actually when you open the app, it's all different types of content, because the algorithm doesn't know you yet. So people think like, hey, that's something I should create, which is actually not the fact. So really people started creating more in these categories, which has been very successful for some companies,
what are the
but also more creators.
And what are the most successful categories? When we talk about categories, so we've mentioned cosmetics. Okay, what are some other successful categories where people working in this category shall definitely be on Douyin?
Fashion and F&B, I would say. These, and education, of course. So education is also huge. That's where ByteDance is, as a company as a whole, is focusing a lot on. But education, F&B, and fashion. And what's actually very important is that the products are cheap. So actually the perfect products are basically under 30 RMB or 40 RMB, because the way how you consume the app is that the UX is you swipe very quick through content. So there shouldn't be a consideration point. If you see something interesting, you want to buy it now without thinking about it. Like, hey, should I buy it? Is it maybe too expensive? People want to buy it now. So that's really important. So if you're in these categories and then with these type of products, then it's actually perfect for you. It can be a bit more expensive as well, but then Douyin kind of changes for you as a platform, and it's more a platform for exploration instead of conversion. So then people usually in fashion, not all the products are under 30 RMB. So then people in fashion, for example, they will explore new things on Douyin. Then they will go to a Xiaohongshu to basically read the reviews, how is the product, and then they would go to a Tmall or Taobao or whatsoever to actually buy the product, even though they could buy the products at every step of that funnel already. So I would say that's what we see a lot.
And talking about funnels, that's also an interesting topic because, as we know, Douyin has been in a little bit of in and out of funnels. At first, when they opened their first checkout, it has been really unsuccessful. And then slowly and gradually, they tried a combination of two. They tried to allow other platforms on. So update us. What's happening right now with the funnel and the checkouts in-app?
Yeah, so I would say the most successful right now, where you see also the most creators having for their social commerce, is Taobao. I think because it's pretty easy to get started on Taobao, open your store, you don't need big money investments, even if you do that as a company. And Taobao integrates basically with different social platforms like Douyin. So it's really easy because of your Taobao Ke, which you then can use on all these platforms. So Taobao, I would say, is still the major platform, but I know they're still doing a lot with native stores within Douyin. Only, yeah, it's difficult for some companies because then they really have to put their focus full on Douyin and manage that store separately again from maybe the other stores they already have. So Taobao still is the most successful because it's just easier to manage for brands, for example. But yeah, they're trying all different sorts of things to take a little bit of revenue from
they're
all
also
type
testing.
of conversions. Yeah, so the same is like you have in live streams now as well. I think that's really what they started to push that development into live streams on Douyin, where you can directly buy products from live streams, for example. So they give like this small pop-up coming when they sell products, and you can directly do that conversion. But they're doing that still with selected users, testing a lot, which Douyin does a lot. They test a lot, and then something is there, and then it might not be there tomorrow, and then in 10 days it's back again. That's what happens a lot, and a lot of our creators had that, and that's why I think, yeah, people prefer definitely with their e-commerce to just have a Taobao because they know it will work, and there's not so much experimenting or changing within the platform, because that's kind of where Douyin is known for as well.
Yeah. Fast paced all the way.
Yes.
What is Douyin not good for? Who is it not good for, or what is it really not good for?
I would say it's not good for if you really want to focus on conversion. I think they're really better platforms still. It's really good for that exploration part. And of course, there's some conversion related to that. But if you really want to drive conversion, I think there are better ways in China to do that. And it's not good for if you don't have an in-house creator or work with an expertise company, because it's really tough to create relevant short video content. That's really the biggest struggle. Even we still see, and we have been doing this for years, like there are not a lot of successful brands just because they don't know how to create content. So the most, I would say, successful brands have a very good social media manager who's managing that one account, or they have huge budgets and basically hire a lot of KOLs creating content for their channels. So basically more, so they can fill up the content on their platform. So
and how much content?
If you're unable to then,
how much content must there be? Is it daily, 5 times a day? People are right now already scared watching us. They go like, oh my God, how much content is it?
Yeah, so I would say the best is like at least 1 a day, which is tough for companies. So we do often for companies 3 a week, which is still fine as well. Like the way how we usually structure it, if you cannot get to that number, because it's expensive to create short video content every single day. So how we usually solve that is we do a combination of more in-house production and KOLs, which KOLs create content specifically for the branded account. And then we will push that content with Dough Plus, which is like boost posts on Facebook, or do some paid ads to really boost it more to get that reach, because that's relatively easy on Douyin. And then you can boost these posts where you connected social commerce with, for example. So I think this is a very better way to do that for brands. And I would say they have to explore the Douyin, like the video editing app, which is now Via Maker outside. This has been really successful as well for brands, even for brand awareness, if you create certain templates for video editing. This has been very successful, and I think a lot of people forget that app, where it's like the most popular video editing app in China, but it's part of Douyin. So you kind of have to put these two together and see what the different opportunities are for you as a brand. That actually helps as a brand as well to create more content, because they have all these templates ready. So just putting in your video and photo content, and there's like a video done in like a minute. So
a few minutes,
that helps a lot as well. Yeah.
You
so
need
that
to have
helps a lot as
templates
well.
and clarity. Absolutely. Otherwise, just the sheer amount is overwhelming, right? Otherwise, you spend all day, every day thinking about the script, thinking about the message and creating it. So you need to have some snapshots. But before that, you need to test the market. You need to understand what does your category really stand for? What do your consumers react to? What is your outcome for this platform? And then you can create those templates. Now, talking about content creation, right now people are probably also wondering, so how much does it actually cost? We have the, let's say, agency that helps us, and we have content creators, bloggers that can create content for us. So how much, give me a bracket, between XYZ to XYZ Shell brand's budget for Douyin to create content, and then probably another bracket for how much they shall probably budget for boosting content. Below that amount, basically they shall not be on Douyin.
Yeah, so the way how we structured it, and we help brands and artists and stuff like that on the platform, is we always use creators who are creating content for the brands, because that's the easiest. It's really tough to do that in-house, or you have to hire someone who's very good at creating that content for Douyin. So that could be a way to just hire a small content creator on Douyin who knows how to create content. So I think that's the cheapest way to do that in China, to get a person like that. Otherwise, you have to, for example, work with KOLs and use them, let's say, as ambassadors for 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year, where you just basically sign a contract with and you're collaborating with them for a longer period of time, where the creator can earn a recurring income, basically, because that's what a lot of creators are still looking for. They can do these branded campaigns as a KOL campaign, but that's like a one-off thing, and that's not very appealing. So usually in most cases, they don't really care about your brand, to say it like that. It's just like, okay, I have my money, I do the campaign, and that's fine. So to build up that relationship, it's more interesting because they have that recurring income, and you start better understanding the brand from a creator standpoint. So usually how we count that as a company is the Douyin pushed out really from the early days already 20 to 30 RMB per 1,000 followers you have. So that's kind of how you can calculate it. And for content creation, we just do that in half. So we just split that by half, and then we have basically the content creation. That's how we do it right now. But I think as a brand, you usually can have conversations with your creator. So a creator usually doesn't have much resources, but they're very good at content creation. So it's really like, okay, how can we help that creator to go to a next step? What are the creator's goals? So it's pretty much of a time investment, but I think it will pay off to really see, can we work long term with the creator? That's, I would say, the cheapest way. And then it's basically just like a China salary or an average salary or whatsoever. I think that's the best way. Or you can hire the companies and let these creators do it. But then it's getting more expensive, but then you might have better creators and you have short-term results. And I think that sometimes companies are looking for both the short-term results and then the long-term building that as well. So I think that's a combination of both. So we do sometimes campaigns. We set KPIs with our creators, like, okay, if you do promotion or you help us grow, this is and this and this what you need to achieve. For example, a minimum reach or a minimum followers or whatsoever. And that's what we agree together with the creators. And what we actually see, even if we run campaigns, if a creator doesn't hit that point, they will put from the budget we paid them, they will put on Douyin Plus to get to that point. So at the end of the day, it helps the creator and it helps the brand as well. So that's one of the ways we do that, because then we at least know from a brand side, we can guarantee something to them. I think that's the best way to do it with the creators. You can also use for Douyin, you can use the star map, which is basically the creator marketplace. I think that's the way you can at least get an indication what the prices are. But of course, you have to know sometimes there's an MCN in between and there's Douyin in between. So it's not very good indication, but at least if you're really new to it, I think it's good to get started like this if you want to get started. But really exactly codes is tough.
Shall every company use Douyin Plus Douyin Plus? In other words, like, for example, there are platforms that are really impossible to get any reach if you're not advertising. And there are still other platforms where you can really, really hit in one point and that one video can go semi-viral and you can essentially get some reach. So as you're creating so much content, shall you also advertise? And what would be your professional advice on that?
Yes, I would advertise. It doesn't have to be every piece of content, but with content, you have specific goals, like conversion, for example, if you want to sell a product. or you think like, hey, this is really representing what we want to show as a brand, then I would advertise it because it's relatively cheap to do that. But I will do it really in a way together with creators. So for example, even if for your own branded content, if it's creator content, it's way more appealing because maybe some users already know these users, because you can advertise in a way like, okay, target the followers of this creator, or the followers of this creator, something like that. So then it's way more interesting, and then you can hit that point to create more interest in the platform. So I would only do it in this way, or if you run KOL campaigns on a Douyin, and then, for example, advertise to boost that, because then at the end of the day, the creator is also more happy because it helps them to get more reach as well and more engagement.
Are there?
So
please go ahead.
Go ahead. No, it's fine. I was done.
Are there a lot of creators on Douyin that are not part of an MCN and they are independent and willing to collaborate? Or are we looking at the platform, because there are platforms in China where literally wherever you go, you're just talking to that same 5 MCNs that dominate the place, and they treat their creators with various degree of good to nasty?
Yeah, so of course, a lot of the new creators, so really which popped out, I would say, since mid last year, they're usually not signed with an MCN. And that's partly because in the beginning, Douyin managed that. So creators got paid. So the first batch of creators got paid. So basically, Douyin was the MCN, to say it very simple. And then the app started growing and the creators became kind of a less priority because the platform became more of a priority. They started kind of working together with these MCNs. So I think they have a couple hundred MCNs where they directly work with Douyin directly. Some are founded by creators themselves, but in most cases, the creators are very unhappy and they sign contracts with them for 1 year or sometimes 3 years. Sometimes even the MCN started to own the account. You also see that a lot. So usually creators are very unhappy, and that's basically because you see like a small team or an MCN cannot provide enough resources to make all these creators successful. There are always like 1 or 2 favorites which are really doing well and the rest not. So most of the people won't be happy. So, but now, since recently, a couple months ago, Douyin said, okay, we want to kind of take that back again. And we want to start managing some creators again, because they want to keep more control over it, because that's how ByteDance really want that. They want to keep control over every stage of that funnel. And the most important thing is that people create high quality content. So they're going to train these creators more to create that high quality content, because then they can sell them for more to brands. And then they say like, yeah, they're with us. So that's kind of how it works. So, but there's also a group of the creators we work with. So we work mainly with the creators who have been there from the beginning, from mid 2016. And a lot of them are not signed anymore because their contract expired. And I was like, I'm not going to sign again because this is kind of ruining me. So they really focus on themselves with social commerce, starting their own brands and whatsoever, and make pretty good money with it. So yeah, they prefer to have the control over themselves. It's really to see as a brand, which is most interesting for you. If there's an MCN, usually there's a kind of quality maintenance, and it might be easier for you. But if you work with independent creators, they might think like, hey, I don't want to do a campaign where I sell your products, because if I sell my own products, I can earn way more money than I have to sell your products. So why should I sell your products? And this is really an issue already. We see a lot with brands and creators as well. So, and that's, I think, where it's heading more. And that's where Douyin is also pushing, that the creators are the most important assets and are actually the brands themselves. They don't need brands anymore. They're their own brand. And you have now a lot of these independent creators with, let's say, 10,000 followers who are selling their own products and make a passive income. And some have their mainstream income. So that's where it's really heading right now. So brands are getting it tough. So they have to get these creators. So yeah, you have these independent ones. You need to be a little bit lucky, or really try to provide them the resources they would need to develop themselves. Or you have the MCNs, or then StarMap directly with Douyin. So I think these are the different options you have. Or a company like us who works with all these different parties, and we try to select for you the best one based on your budget. So you can choose then which one you want to work, and then we help with that as well. Yeah,
that's very insightful. When we talk about creators, just to put it in perspective, how big shall be the account to actually be counted as the creator or the microblogger on Douyin? Because across platforms, this number is just so different that it's difficult to sometimes keep it in the box.
Yeah, so on Douyin, it's actually interesting because you can actually grow overnight to 1 million followers. Like, you can grow really quick. on Douyin. And then, but it doesn't mean that you have a very loyal followers. So even if you would try to sell something or monetize it, it's not worth much. So we as a company don't look much at the followers. It's more like we just set KPIs with these creators. So if you do a campaign, you just need minimum this reach. And what we usually do is we look at the last 20 or 30 videos, see what is your average reach, and then, okay, we pay for the reach. That's kind of how we standardize that, because that's fair to everybody. And if they don't hit it, okay, they don't hit it. And we kind of know how to create that content to get to that reach. But we also work sometimes with creators who are way smaller, like 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers. I think now they start calling them more these KOCs, who are just doing lipstick reviews. And they're small, but they just do that. So people will go, if they want to buy a new lipstick, they will just go to this person, check their account, and listen to their advice and directly buy a product. And you see actually that these type of creators sometimes earn way more money than someone with 3 million followers, because they have really that loyal audience and they're in that category. So yeah, it really depends. I think from 10,000 followers, you can already work with a KOL, but it's sometimes more difficult to find them, I would say. But the larger KOLs, yeah, usually they're very overpriced in my opinion. And the return you get is not that high. But I think in China, that market is also developing from an advertising standpoint. At first, it was like we saw creators with millions of followers asking sometimes hundreds of thousands RMB for just a simple boost. And Chinese companies are paying for that. So they think like, oh, as long as they're paying, I'm fine. And now that started developing, that the Chinese companies were like, yeah, but I'm actually not getting results. So now they're a bit more critical in like how are we going to work with, or this is just how we're going to work. So a lot of creators are a bit more flexible, but from 10,000 followers, it's already doable to a couple million, but you have to know with who you have to work. Some are really expensive with a couple million, some are not expensive at all because they treat their platform differently.
Right. This is very cool. Now, how do you deal with fake followers? Because talking about all these KPIs, I mean, working in China for many years, we all know that, you can set KPI, but views can be bought, likes can be bought, comments can be bought, even your product sales can be bought. And then 3 days later, they're going to, ship it all back. And then you're sitting there with this broken kind of pot. So how do you deal with this particular fake follower instance on Douyin?
Yeah, so that's why we always recommend to work kind of with a creator as an ambassador a lot, because then you work with them for a longer period of time, then you build that trust relationship. And they cannot keep buying this. Okay, they can, but they won't necessarily, because it will be part of their, they will lose money because of this. And you can look right through that. The way how we usually try to brand it if we work with companies is actually more that try to always create as much value that you see the promotion as a plus, for example. Like, and that's really if you want to run a KOL campaign. Like if they create content, usually what we say when we run a campaign is like, okay, you can do a campaign with us. Of course, we will do that promotion. Then we also get a question like, yeah, but there might be fake followers. It's like, okay, sure. What we can do is like we create video content for you, and the creator also will create 5 pictures for you or whatsoever. So at least you have some content you can reuse in banners for your Tmall store or wherever you want to reuse that content itself. Then at least you invested in something you have back, and then see the promotion really as the plus. And that's partly because we work a lot with creators who are not super expensive, like a 200K RMB for a 15-second video. We usually work, ranging from 1,000 RMB to 25,000 RMB for a promotion. So then it's kind of more doable because you get something back from that. And of course, the awareness is fine. And that's why we usually try to manage the campaigns. So that's why we run a Dough Plus, because we know it's real. So we do kind of that quality maintenance in that. So it's really building that relationship and see what is your goal at the end of the day with these fake followers or fake views whatsoever. We work a lot with creators who directly have been working with Douyin. So Douyin is very strict on this. They will directly kick you out of their community and say, okay, you're not a qualified creator. We don't give you brand deals anymore. So that's why Douyin keeps really control over the type of creators, and they have like preferred creators. So you have a lot of creators, and then they have like this group where they directly work with. So we're also part of these groups where Douyin is directly in. We're like a network of 500 creators or something, which is like a preferred network to collaborate with, for example, because they know they're real, and Douyin has been helping them a lot over the course of all these years. So it's really knowing and understanding with which creators do you want to work with, what is like their past, with which brands that they work in previously, and see if you can get as much value out of them where you could always reuse it. So that's really for the KOL campaigns, I think. If you just pay for a creator who creates content for your channel, it's fine. You don't have that problem, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the last question, because I know you need to run, the last question is, what are you most excited about going forward when it comes to Douyin? A new feature, a new development, a new turn or twist? What are you personally looking forward in 2020 or 2021?
Definitely social commerce. I hope that develops more, that it's more accessible for creators, and that it actually started working better. And I think that social commerce is within the short video itself, but also within live streaming, that we get more possibilities and futures there. And I think gaming, I hope they're putting more focus on that. You know, ByteDance is putting a lot effort on gaming itself. I hope that will develop within the platform itself, because right now we already can play some mini games and developers can create games for Douyin. I hope that will develop and see if we just how that goes, just from a very interesting standpoint, how they would integrate that within their own app, if that ever would really take off. So that's really interesting for me, but I really hope social commerce, because partly for the brands we work with, they want that. It's like
selfish reasons.
No, but I think for the creators as well, like we manage creators as well. We don't work only with brands. We're kind of an MCN in that sense as well. Like we manage TikTok creators and some Douyin creators where we help them grow. And we really want to get to that point that creators can earn enough money to do that full time and don't have to do something besides that. So we really, we always think from a creator standpoint, how can we help the creator as much as possible? Is a brand collaboration the right way, or is starting your own brand the right way? So that's where we look at. And I think social commerce is very interesting. Partly, of course, for a selfish reason, but as well, I think for the market, it's really good when social commerce will be really taking off more, and that it's really useful and works. I hope these things that will come more.
Yeah. This is phenomenal. Fabian, thank you so much again. You brought a lot of value. We've learned about Douyin, we've learned about algorithm, we've learned about what to expect, about the functionality, about what's happening on Douyin post-COVID-19, and how to actually create and leverage the functions within the app. So it was also extremely, straightforward. Guys, do connect with Fabian on LinkedIn. Do connect with his company called App Lab if you're looking for Douyin specific help, and obviously creators and content. They are the people to talk to. Meanwhile, stay tuned for more China experts to come soon.